Welcome to Infectious Disease Lesson 1.5. So why aren't we always sick? Our body's defenses. The goals of this lesson are to introduce the concept that epithelial cells separate the inside and outside of the body, describe structural barriers that keep microbes on the outside of the body, and introduce the immune cells that respond if a microbe gains access to the inside of the body. At the end of the lesson, the students should be able to define sterility and explain which parts of our bodies are non-sterile and sterile, explain how commensal bacteria protect against infection, and describe the external and internal barriers and defenses the body uses to prevent infection. We will achieve our goals with an interactive discussion and a think, pair, share brainstorming about our body structures that protect us from infection. To prepare for this lesson, you'll need to review the following key scientific concepts. Epithelium separates the inside and outside of the body. The inside is sterile and the outside is non-sterile. Skin and mucosa have additional barriers to prevent microbes attaching to and penetrating the epithelium. Breach of these defenses activates immune cells in the blood and tissues. You can review the scientific content in the background reading provided for you in the teacher primer, the teacher manual, and the student workbook. The teacher primer provides in-depth knowledge about the scientific content presented in this lesson. The teacher manual or lesson plan provides a minute-by-minute explanation of the lesson structure, and the student workbook provides additional explanation for students. Note that an annotated version is also available for teachers. Be sure to print the in-class worksheet. This lesson also requires watching a few video clips that show some of the immune barriers in action. These video clips are embedded in the PowerPoint slide deck, and you'll want to confirm that they play properly on your computer before using them in class. The key points of the do now are that the outside of the body contacts the environment and is not sterile. The inner tissues are separated from the environment by epithelia and are sterile. We'll get there with an interactive think, pair, share brainstorming. The do now begins by defining the term sterile as free from microorganisms. Next, students will work in small groups to brainstorm a list of the sterile and non-sterile parts of the human body. After the students complete this list on their worksheets, have the students report out their findings and use the summary table in the PowerPoint to address the question, do you see a pattern? The key point to emphasize is that the epithelium separates the inside and outside of the body. The key points of the activity are that skin and intestine are both epithelia, but play different roles so they each have different additional barriers to help keep microbes out. And immune cells and complement are activated whenever epithelium is breached. To begin the activity, have students draw on their prior knowledge of the kinds of barriers that help keep microbes outside the body. The students can record their thoughts on the worksheet. We will then add to the students' lists with a class discussion to identify 7 important structural, chemical, and microbial barriers. Structural, which includes skin and intestinal epithelium, chemical, which includes defensins, mucus, tears, and stomach acid, and microbial, which includes commensal bacteria. When discussing the body's barriers, it is important to first describe each barrier using the images in the PowerPoint. Next, describe how each protects the host from infection. The skin is a robust barrier made of multiple layers of epithelial cells. The outermost layer of epithelial cells are tightly packed and have hardened dead cells that are impenetrable to most microbes. Defensins are small molecules found on the skin and in mucus that have antimicrobial effects. The respiratory and intestinal epithelium, unlike the skin, is composed of a single layer of cells. Being a single layer allows the intestinal epithelium to exchange gases and nutrients with the environment, but also makes it less durable than skin. Because of this, the respiratory and intestinal epithelia have additional barriers to help protect the epithelium. Mucus is a thick gel that covers both respiratory and intestinal epithelia, so they are sometimes called mucosal epithelia or mucosal membranes. Mucus adds an additional barrier that prevents microbes from reaching the thin epithelia. tears are associated with thin epithelia in the eyes. They contain enzymes with antimicrobial properties and flush the microbes from the epithelial surface. Stomach acid has a low pH and kills bacteria and viruses before they can enter the lower portions of the digestive system. Commensal bacteria are non-pathogenic and colonize all the external surfaces of the body. They act as a barrier by taking up space and consuming nutrients, thereby preventing pathogenic bacteria getting a foothold. For more detail about the structures and their functions, refer to the teacher primer or teacher manual. The discussion then transitions to considering what happens if a microbe does breach the external barriers. The goal here is just to introduce the cells and defenses the immune system provides, so students will be aware of them. We will explore them functionally in more detail in Unit 5. Complement is the name given to a set of antimicrobial molecules in the blood that are able to lyse-invading bacteria. Phagocytes are immune cells that patrol the inside of the body, ready to engulf and remove invading pathogens. B and T cells are the third line of immune defense to microbial invasion. The B and T cells are mobilized in response to a breach, and so there is a delay before they become active. When they encounter an invader, they make a memory of it, so if we are exposed a second time, they work faster and better. Please note that the slides for complement and phagocytes contain an embedded video clip, and you'll want to confirm that they play properly on your computer before using it in class. The key point of the lesson's wrap-up is to emphasize that the skin is a powerful barrier to infection. It is the largest immune organ. We'll get there using a clinical scenario and question to emphasize the importance of the skin as a barrier to infection. Students often struggle to think of the lumen of the intestines and lungs as being outside of the body. One way to think of it is that the lumen of the intestines is like a pipe connected to the environment at both ends. The epithelium is the actual piping. It changes as we go down the body from the mouth and nose to the anus. At the end of the lesson, collect the lesson worksheets to assess each student's ability to describe the external and internal defenses the body uses to prevent infection. The immune structures covered here will play a role in host microbe interactions we will investigate in Units 2 through 4. The functions of the immune structures will be explored in more depth in Unit 5. Don't forget, if you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, to let us know. You can contact any of the CTSE team members, and we'll be happy to help you.